Things got wild during the Eagles and Browns' second joint practice at training camp, as not only did Philly get a surprise development on one of their injured stars, but they also had a few unexpected players flash some scary potential. And that included Sidney Brown and Andrew Mukuba, as they both continue to fight for the starting safety job, a hidden gem at wide receiver, and a couple of exciting young linebackers who were fighting for the right to start as well. Meanwhile, Myles Garrett absolutely destroyed the Eagles' offense, while Joe Flacco shredded the Birds' defense. So let's talk about all that and everything else from day 2 of joint practices between the Eagles and Browns starting right now. Alright, so again, after an intense battle between the Eagles and Browns back on day 1 of joint practices on Wednesday, both teams were back out there on Thursday and ready to face off once again in their second and final joint practice at camp together. And once again, it was another tough battle between both sides, with players for each team making big-time plays. And like I said earlier, some under-the-radar Eagles flashed some exciting potential, so we'll get into that. And we also got an unexpected update on a big injury as well. So you already know, we got lots to talk about. First, though, I want to highlight a cool story from Thursday morning regarding star receiver A.J. Brown. Now, of course, A.J. is one of, if not the best wide receiver in Eagles history at this point, which is just insane, especially when you look at just how exactly the Birds were able to land AJ in the first place, as it's quite possibly one of the most lopsided draft day trades in NFL history, especially since the Titans just cut wide receiver Treylon Burks, which, if you need a quick refresher, he's the player that they essentially traded AJ Brown for. So again, looking back on it, the Eagles just absolutely robbed the Titans there. And on Thursday morning, we actually got some cool behind-the-scenes information from none other than Eagles GM Howie Roseman on just how exactly he was able to pull that trade off.
How in the hell did the A.J. Brown trade?
Who's calling who first? Did you call the Titans first? Titans call you first?
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, John Robinson, heck of GM, I understood where he was and financially what he was trying to do and really trying to figure out a way to make a win-win situation, because we had a quarterback at the time on a rookie deal. The interesting thing was that we had the trade done, the terms agreed to in the morning. We had to get a contract done with him. And at the time, we started with 3 first-round picks in that draft. We traded one for a future pick with New Orleans. We still had 2, and basically I said, John, if we can't get a contract done, we can't do this trade. We can't trade you a 1 and a 3 for 1 year of a player. We got to get a contract done first. And so we trade up and we get Jordan Davis. Our contract's still not done. And John's like, well, what are we doing? What's going on here? And so after we picked Jordan 12th, I think the pick we ended up trading was 18th. Between 12 and 18, I'm trying to finish the contract. And so nobody knew except a couple of people that we were even doing it, because I said, imagine this falls apart. I'm going to be the GM who can't get a deal done with AJ. And so at that point, when we finished it was about pick 14 and the deal was done. And I turned to Jeffrey and Nick and I said, we're going to surprise our room when we're on the clock. They don't know anything about it. And so when we get ready to pick, I'm just going to say, hey guys, we're picking AJ Brown. And they're all going to look at me like, what the f*** is going on? But they're going to be excited as shit. And so it was really fun. It was great energy. It was really I can't even get to 5 on the amount of people who knew in our building because of the contract situation. It was cool.
That's a hell of a story.
Yeah, it was cool.
First off, shout out to the guys over at the Bussin' with the Boys podcast for doing that interview. And yeah, like they said, that is just an awesome story, because we never knew that before. And I mean, it's crazy that the extension was the one thing holding up the trade, and it almost didn't happen. Could you imagine? Because, again, 3 years, 3 1,000-yard seasons, 1 all-time single-season receiving yards record, 2 NFC titles, and 1 Super Bowl title later. And safe to say, that ended up being a pretty good decision for Philadelphia. So, drop a like down below for that. Getting back to present day, though, and A.J. Brown was unfortunately out once again for the Eagles' second joint practice against the Browns as he continues to deal with a hamstring injury. And again, as I said in my last video, this is very noteworthy because A.J. had actually briefly returned to practice in limited fashion after missing around a week with the same injury. But for the 2 real important joint practices against the Browns, he was of course absent. So, you gotta wonder what that's all about. Now, maybe it's just them managing the injury and trying to give AJ some rest during the more intense practices so they don't end up re-aggravating the injury. Or who knows, maybe he already re-aggravated it and that's why he's been out. So, again, who knows? But regardless, I really don't think there's any reason to worry because, as long as he's back for the start of the season, it's not really an issue.
It's AJ Brown. Obviously, we'd love for him to be out there, but that's football. Things happen. But if there's anybody in the world I'm not really concerned about, it's that guy. He's pretty good at doing his job and getting open. So.
Now, staying with the topic of injuries, we actually did just get a really exciting and positive update on Landon Dickerson. Now, no, it's not that he's back working out his leg or practicing or anything like that, because, that'd just be a miracle. But, it's still pretty unexpected, as just one day after getting a minor surgery on his injured meniscus, Dickerson was seen at the Eagles and Browns joint practice, walking around pretty normally, and also carrying something in his hand, as you can see. And that was later revealed to be a cooler filled with beer, which he brought to share with the Browns offensive line. And if that's not the most Landon Dickerson thing you have ever heard, that's just awesome. It's also hilarious. It's cool to see him make that gesture, and it's also just nice to see him, out on the field interacting with the team fresh off of having surgery. And, something tells me we're going to see him back out there pretty soon.
What's that like, seeing him on the field so quickly and escaping a serious injury?
Feels like Landon. That's our guy. You never count him out. It's the toughest guy I know.
Man, I think that guy's just made of rubber. Man, he's just made of rubber. It doesn't matter what injury he's going through during the game. He's just going to keep pushing through, and it's inspiring. Man, it's just, I don't know what it is. Something different about him, the mentality. Just to go out there and lay it all.
Now, staying with the offensive line, right tackle Lane Johnson actually also missed practice on Thursday with what the team is deeming as just rest, and his absence was definitely felt as Matt Pryor took over in his spot, and with Lane not in there, that just made things even more difficult on the offensive line to slow down the Browns' best player, and one of the best players in the entire NFL in Myles Garrett. And man, oh man, did he have a day on Thursday, as he absolutely wreaked havoc all day long and pretty much single-handedly shut down the Birds' offense throughout practice, which, that was one of the major contributing factors in the Eagles losing the day. Reporter Jimmy Kempski literally tweeted out, quote, "Myles Garrett is sacking Jalen Hurts on almost every play. He just pulls up and lets the Eagles finish the rep. It's almost comical." So, that's obviously just insane. And what makes it even more wild is that he wasn't just doing this against Matt Pryor. He was actually primarily doing it against Jordan Mailata. Yes, the NFL Top 100 and All-Pro left tackle Jordan Mailata was getting killed over and over and over again by Myles Garrett, which is just crazy.
There's no one like Myles. So you can't apply what Myles does to anyone else, because he's just a freak. He's a freak.
But what do you gain personally out of watching those reps?
I get a giggle. I'll get a giggle out of it. I'll be honest. I'm just sitting there I did my fucking job. Oh, sorry. I did my job, and yet I still got beat. How is that even possible? How is he still at below my knees and he's bending the corner? He starts the rush, in a 4-point stance, and by the time he's 4 yards upfield, he's still at that same height. And it's kind of like, well, what am I supposed to do there? Just jump on him? Not even that's possible. He'll just carry me to the QB. Guy's a freak. But like I said, man, when you go up against the best, so that's enough glazing for now. Sorry, guys. When you go up against the best, you're able to, learn from the next rep. And it was kind of just like this: lose, win, lose, 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 win, lose, 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 win. That's just how it felt like. And I just kept on saying, keep it pushing to the next play and keep trying to just do your job, and then we'll fix it up later.
Yeah, again, that's just insane. Now, just to clarify, I'm definitely not worried about Mailata in the slightest, and it definitely sounds like he's using it as a learning experience, so that's definitely good. But again, Garrett just really wrecked the entire day for the Eagles offense, and apparently it got to the point where Jalen Hurts could barely get the ball down the field at all, and pretty much every throw was just getting swung out to the running backs because Garrett was getting pressure so quickly. So, yeah, overall, it was just not a good day for the Eagles offense, as in 5 offensive possessions and 11 on 11s that were also mainly inside the 25-yard line, the Birds couldn't manage to score a single touchdown. Jalen Hurts ended up going 11 for 17 with no touchdowns and no interceptions. So, on one hand, it's good that he didn't turn the ball over or really put it in harm's way at all, but he also didn't really make any great plays either. Now, granted, they didn't have Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, A.J. Brown, or even Saquon Barkley, who didn't do team drills as the Eagles were resting him, but still definitely was not a good day for the Eagles offense, as Myles Garrett and the Browns defense pretty much had their way. That said, that doesn't mean there weren't some good moments for the offense, and the one that stood out most for me reading through the practice notes came from undrafted rookie wide receiver Darius Cooper, as against all odds, the 23-year-old out of Tarleton State continues to impress and make nice plays, which on Thursday apparently included beating out one of the best corners in the game in Denzel Ward on a slant route for the touchdown. Now, I don't know what context this was in, but still, hearing that Cooper beat Denzel Ward on a rep, no matter the context, is definitely very impressive. And again, that's just one of many moments where Cooper has flashed some potential during training camp and in the preseason. And he even recently earned the praises of Devontae Smith, who said, quote, "He's a freak of nature. He's fun to watch." And personally, I couldn't agree more, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching Cooper during the Eagles and Browns preseason game on Saturday. Moving on though, just like the Eagles offense struggled on Thursday, so did the Birds defense, as they had a hard time slowing down Joe Flacco and the Browns' first-team offense, giving up multiple big plays through the air and multiple touchdowns. Those including a play where Jerry Jeudy actually beat Quinyon Mitchell on a crossing route, which is rare to see, and he caught it in stride and ran it into the end zone. And then Flacco also hit David Njoku in the back of the end zone for a touchdown after he had beat Cooper DeJean. And overall, on the day, Flacco was 7 for 10 with 2 touchdowns and no picks. So again, overall, it was a really good day for them. And I haven't even gotten to the trick plays yet, as the Browns ran a couple of those successfully on Thursday as well, including a hook and ladder play that scored them a touchdown. And in addition to that, Dillon Gabriel also threw a touchdown to rookie tight end Harold Fannin Jr., who beat rookie safety Andrew Mukuba up the seam for about a 30-yard score. Now, Mukuba actually did respond to that by picking off Gabriel on the 2-point attempt, so definitely a good learning lesson for the Rook there, and also good to see him continuing to come along, make plays, and just try and make this battle at safety interesting despite missing a bunch of time. And again, he's a rookie, so he's going to make mistakes. I'm not too concerned about him giving up that touchdown. That's part of it. But, Mukuba has a ton of talent, and I feel like he could be a real impact player for the Birds defense as early as this season even. So to see him make a play like this in practice, getting that interception, despite the big mistake, is definitely exciting. But still, overall, definitely not a great day for the Birds defense. And overall, just looking at the entire practice, the Browns definitely did outplay the Eagles in this one. But, let's just put this in perspective. It is a joint practice in August, so no need to overreact to anything. Obviously, you'd like to see the Eagles perform a little bit better, but the fact that they got outplayed here just isn't a huge concern to me. And that said, there are still some more positives to go over for the Eagles on defense, and we'll start with the favorite to start at safety in Sidney Brown, as he flashed his ability to fly downhill and make plays on the ball carrier, even at one point popping tight end Harold Fannin Jr. after he caught a pass on the 1-yard line, and he kept him out of the end zone with that hit. So I'd say that's definitely a pretty good play there. Now look, I know people are split on Sidney Brown, and he definitely does have areas of his game that he just needs to show he's gotten better in, but I'd say a clear strength of his game, as writer Dave Zangaro said, is getting downhill to make tackles. So, you got to give him that, and I think it's very promising to see him continuing to make plays in practice over these past several days. And then moving on, you also have rookie linebacker Jihaad Campbell, who just continues to impress just about every chance he gets. And on Thursday, the Birds decided to give him more snaps out on the edge, and even allowed him to rush the passer a few times, and he capitalized, as he sacked Joe Flacco on one occasion, so that's definitely awesome to hear. And he wasn't the only linebacker to have a good day, as Jeremiah Trotter Jr. also apparently had a very solid practice, with Jeff Kerr writing, quote, "Thought Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had an outstanding day against the Browns offense, was in on many of the run plays." So, that's also definitely very exciting to hear. And I'd say don't count Trotter out in the battle to start at linebacker. I mean, I know everybody's super excited about Jihaad Campbell and hyping him up, myself included, but Trot has started all training camp long. He's made plays day in and day out, and he's also earned some praise from his teammates. So I definitely still think he has a very real shot to win that starting job come week 1 before Nakobe Dean obviously returns.
Do you think Trot gets underestimated sometimes? Jeremiah Trotter?
I don't know where he's being estimated. I think he's a great linebacker.
There's so much talk about Jihaad, I guess, because he's the #1 pick, and then Smiles the new guy, and you obviously coming off a great year. But he's been running 1 reps all.
Yeah, he's a damn good linebacker. That's what I say.
All right, so next up for the Birds is the preseason game against the Browns on Saturday. And you guys know I'm going to be covering that, as well as the rest of training camp, the final preseason game, and of course, once we get into the regular season. So if you don't want to miss any of that, then make sure you guys subscribe and you turn on notifications. Again, that way you don't miss anything. And also, make sure you like the video down below because it really does help me out a ton. See if we can get to 500 likes today. And also, leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. What was your biggest takeaway from day 2 of the Eagles and Browns joint practices? And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video recapping the Eagles and Browns first joint practice, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.